Hi, we're Group 3, and this is our discussion video for chapters 5 through 8.
Hi, my name is Layla Hasunan. I'm the group leader.
Hi, my name is Yuan Dong, and I'm the group tech.
This is Mona Farhoma. I'm a timekeeper.
I am Haley Haskell, and I will be the group interviewer. So first off, we will be discussing the questions related to chapter 5. Layla, please discuss the development of both basic and complex emotions. How do we learn to regulate these emotions? Discuss how not learning to properly regulate our emotions can be detrimental to our mental health and our relationship with others.
All right, so I'm going to start off with explaining what both basic and complex emotions are. So basic emotions are emotions that develop like our first emotions, a baby's first emotions. They are happiness, sadness and anger or being mad. And, each emotion comes through at a different time. So, for example, it starts as early as 1 month, a month old, a baby smiles in their sleep. Sleeping smiles we still don't know exactly where they come from, but, in their sleep or when you touch them, they'll smile, softly. And then once it gets to 2 to 3 months, the first social smiles will appear. And social smiles are when an infant smiles at the sight of another human face. So, when you come up to the baby and baby sees you and baby recognizes you and smiles at you, that can be considered a social smile. And then, anger comes in around like 4 to 6 months, and fear comes in later, and stranger wariness comes in later. So they develop, in an order, or as baby develops, more emotions come through. And later on, we also introduce complex emotions, which usually surface around 18 to 24 months. And these complex emotions can be like pride or embarrassment or guilt, for example. And we learn how to regulate these emotions by social referencing. So, you see, or baby sees how, its parents or its siblings react and how they control their emotions. And as baby develops in this environment, it'll reference from the people around them. And not properly regulating these emotions can be pretty detrimental later, and even as in early development, they can cause hardships in making relationships with others, and and interacting with our peers. If a child doesn't properly know how to regulate their anger, and they go to preschool and they're get angry over like small things, or they don't know how to control their anger, it can cause the child to not be able to properly interact with the children around them, which can go on, if it's not regulated, it can go on further in life, and they'll have relationship problems, marriage problems, anger issues, anger management issues. And this I see like firsthand with my baby sister, because she's 5 months. And it's so funny because just earlier today we needed to put her down for her nap, and I had to take a toy away from her, and she started crying like because I took the toy away. So that's kind of like her anger. She's like, why would you take this toy away from me? But little does she know it's nap time, So, but when she was like 2 months old, if I take the toy away, she doesn't understand, that that's her toy and she wants it. She's a baby, So, yeah, that's.
I haven't mentioned this before, but I have a niece and 2 nephews, and they were all biters as kids.
Oh, yeah.
And it was their way of showing, like, I'm really angry right now. Yeah, like what you are doing is making me so mad.
Yeah.
And the social smile that you mentioned, I, work at this doctor's office, and I get to see the social smile all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. And even though I know that the baby isn't smiling because they're happy to see me, because they've never met me before, I still, for some reason, get this like sense of like pride when they smile at me.
I know. That's really cute.
They're so cute. I also get to see a lot of fear in the office because,
stranger wariness. It's like some babies, it's so funny because some babies are a lot like naturally like in their genes. They're more friendly than others. Like some babies will just smile at anyone, and then some babies, the second they see someone who they don't know, they don't give you that social smile. They'll give you that fear.
Just like a deadpan face sometimes.
Yeah, like
too.
It's really cute. It's cute to see how different babies will interact with people around them.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed that like culture can sometimes impact that. Like, I think the textbook was mentioning that some like children of Asian heritage, they show a lot more control.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, more seriousness, and I see that all the time.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of the genes that we take care of the temperature from our parents. So it shows that, for instance, some kids, for instance, my second son always is laughing, just everybody likes to hug him. And then because of the, just reaction. So some it's just the personality. I think they just gonna be formed from that when they birth and then develop through the adulthood.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, excellent. Well, if we're done discussing that one, we'll move on to the next. Duyan, please briefly describe the different types of play and how they prove to be useful during development. As a child, what were your favorite games, and how do you feel that type of play has transferred into the way that you socialize during adulthood?
Okay, so there are basically 3 different types of play that children usually utilize. Starting with parallel play, in which children play alone, but then they are also aware and interested in in another child, which they like the surrounding. And then next would be symbol social play, which begins around 15 to 18 months. And this is when toddlers begin to become more interactive and actually engage in similar activities, and they begin to talk more with their peers and like smiling at each other. And then cooperative play is the last one. Is usually based on a theme, and then children would normally take on a role. For instance, like playing hide and seek, there's a hider and a seeker, and then like tea parties, there's a host and guest. And as a child, I love playing hide and seek, and like solving puzzle. I think and which is like a combination of all 3 plays, cooperative, symbol play, and parallel play. And I think that the type of play used in my childhood ultimately helped me transform me into become a better communicator, as well as participant when it comes to like group settings.
Yeah, that just reminds me a lot of when I was little. I had these Barbies. I'm sure a lot of us had Barbies. We had the classic Barbies that I ruined instead of keeping in the box, which they'd be worth a lot now. But I used to rip them out of the box, and me and my cousins used to take a role. I had my Barbie, she had her Barbie, and one of my cousins had his Ken, and we had designated like our Barbies. We gave them designated roles. So, one was mom, one was dad, one was, and we would play and we would kind of replicate what we saw around us with our dolls. So, I would replicate like even things like little fights, like if our parents do little bickers here, like we would make our dolls bicker. And if our parents, did this, or we went out to Knott's Berry Farm, for example, our dolls would go out to Knott's Berry Farm with us, then we're going on a family trip. So I would replicate kind of like what I saw in my own life through play with my dolls.
They look like a body, seems because all the time we just carry our toys. It's like a body for us, we talk each other, it's kind of it's not just playing, it's just part of us. Where are a baby? Yeah, it's funny. My son's always, he has just toys and then carry everywhere. It just dirty and damaged, but he just carried for that one. Yeah.
My favorite game was also hide and seek growing up. I thought it was so much fun. The cooperative play, everyone takes a role, as you were discussing. And my friends now in adulthood have like leveled up hide and seek. So we'll go and we'll take over like a whole block of street, and everyone goes out and hides while this, seeker counts. And you're allowed to hide as far away as possible, or however far away you want, but the goal is to make it back to the base before being seen. And it has become like such a loved game between me and my friend group. We still play it to this day and participate in
I would
cooperative
love
play.
to try that.
I know. And I mean, you know, you don't think of doing that as an adult. I feel like I kind of left that with my childhood.
Honestly.
Like I never thought to up it. Like I never thought to adjust that game to adulthood. I was like, oh, that's a child's game. That's a really good
so
thought.
competitive. It's like an intense game.
I know, especially as adults, you like get under cars or something. Like you like do stuff. Yeah, like or wow, I really like that one. That's a really good idea.
Oh, there's our timer.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now we will be moving on to our Chapter 6 discussion questions. Mona, please briefly describe the concrete operational period and the formal operational period. Describe some specific examples when you were at this age or a child you know is at this age. Transitioned from the concrete operational to the formal operational period. What are some of the differences that you noticed and how do they relate to these stages?
Thank you, Haley. You know, concrete and formal operation is the theory of the Piaget. Sorry for my pronunciation. You know, Piaget, and is the, you know that the Piaget is the cognitive development of the children. This one is the last stage of the Piaget. It's between when they children going to the school between the age of the 7 to 11. You know, in this stage, the children start to think logically, you know, just remove and reduce the imaginary, so start to logically. So in this age, children learn the mathematical some things or logic, not numbers, you know, just magically how to plus, divide, or something like that. And start to logical operation with logical reasoning, okay? So I make a small example. We just have a gathering in some organization. They just funding the money, collecting money for that organization. So they were selling the small donuts for $5. And that age, my son was in a 5th grade. And he came to me and they say, Mommy, it is that, you know, ridiculous. For $5, we can a bunch of 5 big donuts from the donut shop. Why you want to buy here? So he doesn't understand. I want to just help this organization and then buy. So just start to logical operation with the reasoning, that one, the physical reasoning. Is that for the concrete? So start to go to the logical things. For the formal operation, in this age is between stage between age of 7 to adulthood. Some adult doesn't reach this stage, but most of them, you know, most of are we just for this one. This one is what talking about the consequence of the potential concept. Okay, it means in this age, we are able to understand the point of view of the somethings, abstract, you know. So it's like a hypothetical, you know, conception or something, more like just theoretical something. I make an example. You know, nowadays when we just open the media, what we heard, unfortunately, the Russia attack to the Ukraine. Okay, so when I one day we are discussed with my nephew, and he just have a good hypothetical, you know, conception, and he said, end of this the war is gonna be just maybe nuclear war, or maybe just the, you know, World War III, or many something like that. You know, he just it's not happen. I hope not happen, but theoretically he can just make that in abstract of what big things to go to the small things. You know, they just explain for this one. And difference between two of these, it means with the concrete and formal, is that the children in that for the concrete just physically think about the, theoretically some things, It means if I ask, for instance, my son, 11 years old, I ask him for what's the happen end of this war, for sure, he's going to explain to me physically. It means, for instance, he said, we lost a lot of soldiers, the people lost the land, many refugees, just physically. But if I talk to my nephew, he's gonna say that, okay, is the World War III. So it's gonna be theoretically, in this age, they are able to critically thinking and more hypothetic theoretically. So I hope just understand some things. If you have any question, I can answer you.
That was great.
When
Do you understand? I'm good.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
I read this portion of the book, it instantly made me think of this machine that we have at work. And the point is to test the movement of the eardrum. And the tool for this has a very soft tip. But most of these kids had just had their ears cleaned, which can be kind of uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that the younger kids, as soon as, even if I show them like this has a soft tip, it doesn't hurt you, I'll touch like their arm with it to show them that it's not pokey or anything. The younger kids around like 3 to 5 are way more likely to cry when I insert the soft tip into their ears. But the older kids are able to, make that connection like, oh, this doesn't hurt me, even though the other thing did. So they can connect those like facts instead of just assuming that anything going into the ears is going to hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly. The consequence, they understand, they think consequence of the potential action. They understand. For instance, for sure in a college, we read the long articles, and then what's the point of view of this? It means abstract also. Yeah. Most of the time, I have a problem for that.
Yeah, it's so funny. Your son was able to recognize that this is a really expensive donut, but he didn't fully understand the context of why it might, it's for a fund, it's for a good cause, but he saw the price and he saw this donut and he was like, no, thank you. Even though it's a fundraiser, which that's really good. Like the fact that he was able to put that together. So he knew that there was like a little problem, but he didn't know the context of why it's a more expensive, fundraiser type of thing. That was really interesting to me. I like that part.
I also remember doing fundraiser back in middle school, and I didn't really know the reason why. I just wanted to sell the most, because if you sell the most, you get prizes.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know the reason behind it. I just wanted to be the top seller, so I could get the prizes, and I did that growing up all the time.
That's kind of like Girl Scouts, you try to sell the most cookies and for these prizes, but I don't really realize I still don't really know what that money was for.
Yeah, and the cookies, the box is you can go to Stater Brothers and get those coconut dreams for $3.50 versus you buy the Girl Scout cookie box for however much they sell it, and it's but you're just thinking, oh, if I sell this number of boxes, I'm gonna get a pizza party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now realizing you can go buy a $5 pizza and have your own pizza party. It's just really funny.
All right, so now I'm going to move on to my question. And I was asked to describe the 2 different types of disabilities that children are diagnosed with and how does this affect their development. In my experience, has anyone that I've known with a disability ever lived a happy and healthy life? So I'm going to start with the 2 types of disabilities. The first is the intellectual disabilities, which limits how well a child is able to comprehend and then adapt to certain situations that they're put in. The other category is learning disabilities, which limits how well children are able to perform in at least one subject at school. So for the first one, there are 4 factors that make a child more likely to be diagnosed with an intellectual disability. And these include biomedical factors, genetics, that kind of thing, the biology behind it. And this is like the case for Down syndrome, autism, genetics. Social factors, or what the child deals with in their immediate day-to-day environment. Then there are behavioral factors, which often involve mistreatment of a child. And then there are also educational factors. So what can a school provide to a child to make them more or less likely to develop these disabilities? So these factors can lead to a range in severity for these disabilities. More disabled people will require more help with performing day-to-day tasks, such as brushing your teeth. And then some people can function at nearly normal levels.
Yeah, I actually have a cousin who is borderline autistic, and he's younger than me by like a significant amount. He just turned like 5 or 6, but his parents are already starting to teach him how to go through his daily life, being, autistic, and how to kind of go around it. Like, if he's in a situation where it's a little overwhelming, kind of a lot of people talking at once in the classroom or something, like they're kind of teaching him to, be able to step back and maybe ask the teacher to go out for a second, because he needs to learn these skills, because throughout life, he's going to have it throughout his whole life. It's not something he can fully make go away, but he can learn to work around it and learn to go make it easier for himself to kind of achieve, as kind of, I'm not going to say a normal life, because there's no such thing as a normal life, but as easy as functional life as he can possibly, get to.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't control his environment, but he can control how he deals with that environment. Exactly. And I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. So the second type, with learning disabilities, these people generally struggle with one of 3 academic areas. The first is reading words, and that can just be individual words. So like they see, there's my timer. But essentially, I have known people with both academic and intellectual disabilities during high school. I was able to be a peer mentor to an intellectually disabled person, and she was the happiest person I've ever met. She loved exercise, loved all of that. So it is doable with the right circumstances.
Thank you, Haley.
Excellent. So now we will be discussing the questions related to Chapter 7 of this discussion. Lila, will you please describe, according to the textbook, what are the positive and negative consequences of television, video games, and social media? Have you witnessed any of these firsthand? If so, provide examples.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this question. So this question, so according to the textbook and what was mentioned in the textbook, social media, television, video games, these all have many positive effects, but they also, just like anything, it comes with its negatives as well. So I'm going to kind of go through each one briefly and kind of explain. So mentioned in the textbook, television can highlight, I'm going to start with the negative on television. So television, shows are not always kid-friendly, or shows are not always properly regulated. So they can portray things such as stereotypes, violence, aggression, certain behaviors that, you don't want children to see. But, if they're watching this TV and they see what's being portrayed on the screen, they most likely start replicating this behavior. So for example, if a child has an older brother who is constantly watching, violent TV shows, violent movies where, the men often are yelling or the people around them, specifically women, this child will start replicating that, maybe yelling at his mom more instead of using his words, start kind of replicating what he sees on the TV screen. Advertisements can kind of create bias in younger minds and even in minds of older people. It could be positive bias, negative bias, depending on the advertisement and stuff. And social media can And video games is similar to the TV thing. You know, violent video games can incite more violent behaviors and things along those lines, such as GTA and Call of Duty and things. You know, social media can often lead to cyberbullying. You know, body image, body dysmorphia. You know, these girls are seeing these models who are photoshopped and things along those lines, but they don't. You know, as a girl, you don't realize, okay, this girl's waist and this girl's no stretch marks are because of Photoshop and airbrush. You just see, you know, your stretch marks, your, you know, waist is not tiny, and you're thinking you're not like her. You can't be like her, which can really negatively impact, you know, the mind, and as well as cyberbullying. You know, being hidden behind the screen can often incite or allow bullies to be even more comfortable with who they're targeting, and they could target people further and spread things faster than they could have in person.
They can hide behind that screen.
Hide behind the screen, behind an alias. Yeah, it's really easy. So now, you know, to leave the negatives, I'd like to go to a positive. So television can be very, very positive. There's lots of shows for children. You know, I'm sure I'm going to mention some you guys will remember. You know, Martha Speaks, Curious George, Super Why, Word World, all these television shows, you know, I grew up watching, and my sisters and brothers grew up watching, and, you know, they are watching these shows, and they're able to kind of learn through just, you know, watching what's on the screen. You know, they'll start putting words together and seeing how words interact with each other in a show called like Word World, though, all those things. Video games or social media positively can be positive because you know, you're able to reach, you know, you're able to reach more people in a positive light. So you know, if I want to start a movement where I can, you know, show girls like the before and after of Photoshop to like let them know like this is not real, I can post this, and like a flyer, I can only put it in so many places, but on social media, it'll go around Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, and girls will be able to see like, okay, this is the reality. You know, I am normal. You know, there's no, or I'm not trying to achieve this unattainable, you know, thing. So an example I do have of this is not my youngest baby sister, but my second to youngest sister, when she started watching shows like, again, Word World and Super Why and Curious George, she started being able to sound out these like words with the character on the screen. You know, if they put C-A-T, and then they'd kind of like pause and be like, what does this say? And then she'd be like, cat, you know, and then, you know, like, and, you know, she'd be like she really thinks this character is talking to her and waiting for her response. Versus, you know, my cousin has they're the same age, you know, he's a boy, he has all brothers, so, and his brothers are older, so Word World is not really playing much at his house. It's like GTA, Call of Duty, and, you know, GTA cusses, so he'll come around my sister and be like, F this, you know, and they're the same age, so.
How old?
Yeah, he's like 5, 6, so because he's hearing, you know, GTA playing instead of Word World, you know, my sister's like, cats, and he's like, F this, and so it's like, it's just a very like big difference of like how what you portray to children will show them like how they're going to be like learning.
Okay, so, what was everyone's favorite show growing up?
I'm pretty sure you guys can all relate. Hannah Montana, like living the double life. Like I would love singing Ordinary Girl all day long.
I still watch Curious George. I think it's so funny.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
You know, me as an immigrant, because my child just was born here, and my English was awful. So I think the television is the best I can is to teach them how to you know, learn English. As me too, you know, always start, you know, I love the Curious George and Word World. I like the Word World.
Word World is really fun.
Yeah, it is very fun. And then very creative, you know, very creative for the, you know, the figures or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like each character is its own word. Like the dog character is the word dog. It's always really fun.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but my niece and nephews, they now like use the iPad more than they use TV. And that can be like great because, you know, there's like all of those word wording games.
Yeah, really interactive.
But the last time I was with my niece, I was just like, I approached her while she was on the iPad and she was watching this video where they were like dressing a cartoon character. But first they had the cartoon character like in a bra and like a thong. And she was like tiny waist, giant hips, big breasts.
It's so, and it's like they're already implementing this like desired body image just from day one, like literally from day one, they are constantly pushing for this unattainable, you know, body image, you know, exactly the small hip, big waist, when a lot of us aren't even built that way. Like just our bone, our phenotype, our, you know, physical, you know, we don't have that like big hips, like small waist, you know, maybe our rib cage is bigger, maybe our shoulders are bigger or smaller, or, you know, it, you know, it does really portray its positives and negatives, where is it worth, like, I know I have a cousin, I know we're taking a lot of time on this question, but this is a really interesting topic, where I have this cousin who is pushing for her baby to be, no screen time until like age 3, because she doesn't want, like us, like at least for me, you know, when I was, you know, I'm not that old, I'm 18 turning 19, but we didn't, I mean, phones are still like newer, so I was playing like Tetris maybe at like 6 or 7. I wasn't playing, you know, dress the figure or anything. So from a young age, I didn't have like, and not until I started getting older, you know, when phones came out, iPhones, I got my own phones, smartphone touchscreens, that I start seeing these things. So it's really up to the parent how they want to introduce this, you know, these new things to their children. Do they want their children to, you know, go through this sooner or later, or do they want them to go through it at all? Or, you know, it can keep going on and on with this topic, but yeah, it does have its positives and its negatives.
You know that another thing I have is because I have experience with my son. You know, he just playing with the Fortnite because we don't have time. He was very aggressive. It is the negative, you know, point, but the positive point, because he was in a basketball team before, he was so scared of the ball, or, you know, just he was very calm in the, you know, it's not the basketball. So after the playing the night, you know, Fortnite or something like that, he was aggressive, and then he just is a positive point, you know. Now he's just a good player for the basketball. So I think everything is like any other device. It has a, you know, negative and positive, and it depends on how we just use that one, you know, just how to time.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, lastly, we will be answering questions from the discussion related to Chapter 8. Yuyen, please discuss Kohlberg's pre-conventional level in which orientations fall below it. Give an example that is not used in the textbook to help the reader better understand this theory. It doesn't have to be a personal example, but it should be accurate.
So pre-conventional morality is the early stage in moral development, which children's decisions are primarily influenced by expectation of adults and the consequences of breaking the rule. And in stage 1, obedience is the key, since they would like to avoid punishment, and also because children have yet to establish a personal morality code for themselves. And an example of this would be children in this stage may avoid sneaking into the kitchen at night because they got in trouble the last time that they did, so they would want to like avoid the punishment again. And in stage 2 is when they begin to like view behavior as a social exchange. So like they want to do something and expect something to be given in return. And an example of this would be a pair of siblings taking out the trash together, so that they're in doing so their parent would buy them like buy them a new video game if they take out the trash together.
I used to use this like level of morality all the time when I was little. my parents always really wanted me to unload the dishwasher. And I don't know why. I was kind of a sensory kid. So the sound of silverware hitting each other really bugged me. So I used that as a way of saying like, okay, I'll unload the dishwasher for you, but I expect like an extra 10 minutes of TV time at night or something like that, you know, like a silly reward for doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, I know, literally. No, it's so funny because I used to try and like convince my mom to like allow us where we would do a chore and like we would have I did this whole thing like in 5th grade. I printed out a whole list of like the hardest chores or what I thought was hardest chores versus to like the easiest chores, and I gave each chore like a fake dollar amount, like a dollar amount, and I was like, okay, you can circle the chores you want me to do, but like the dollar amount on there is going to be like my credit to like my allowance. Like if you circle you want me to mop and you want me to do the dishes and wipe, that's going to be like 5, 5, and 5, so it's gonna be $15. Like, and thinking back at it, it literally is the bare minimum. But yeah, I wanted that like Yuyan said, like I wanted, like I figured if I did something, I wanted something back for it.
Return.
Even though I wasn't paying rent and I wasn't doing anything, and I like thought, you know, like you still owe me, and so.
I used to have an allowance for watering the plants because like I have a pretty big backyard. So my grandma, like I would water the backyard and in the front yard. And then every month my grandma would give me because me and my cousin would take turn. So each month she would give it like $50 just to water the front and back.
That's a good side hustle.
It is.
Gardening as a little kid.
You know, it's just kind of when they first is going to be just a reward, but and then start to be the chore. You know, for instance, I give my son, he was just 7 or 8, they put the trash can outside and then give me, for instance, I don't remember, 50 cents because he doesn't know the dollar. But still, I didn't pay to him, but he's just got, now it's his chores. And he knows that every Tuesday he has is his responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, now I you know, we vacuum, I mop, I do dishes and laundry when I don't have school and stuff, and that's just normal, you know. It's not like I do it for a reward or for an incentive anymore.
Perfect. Well, we'll move on to Mona. Discuss Kohlberg's post-conventional level and how the social contract ties into it. Give an example that is not used in the textbook, and once again, this doesn't have to be a personal example, but it should be accurate.
Post-convention is the theory of the Kohlberg. Is the last level of the Kohlberg. You know, overall, Kohlberg is talking about the moral development of human beings. So it has the 3 level. That one is the that has 2 stages. First, it is the social contract, and another one is the universal ethical. You know, for the social contract, you know, it's going to be show the balance between what the social rules that exist in our society and the individual right. Okay, for instance, social rules is the what's the wrong and right, and most people, they have to follow it. And then it's going to be just show that a person in this stage looks internally what they believe. Okay, so, and morality and social rules examine instead of the being blindly accept that one. Okay, I'm going to make an example. Everybody, I think, remember the Rosa Parks. Okay, do you remember Rosa Parks, the Montgomery movement? Mm-hmm. Okay, Rosa Parks, at that time, the rule of the society is a separation between the black and white. But Rosa Parks doesn't believe that one. So just break the rules and then have a seat in the white place in a bus. Okay, so another example I can say, for instance, Muhammad Ali Clay. Muhammad Ali Clay, at that time, the rules of that society, it is the going for the war between United States and Vietnam. The United States helped the Vietnamese people. So because Muhammad Ali convert to Islam and then they don't believe that they have to just, for instance, kill the people. So just he refused to go to attend and participate in the military. So he received a, jailing and then opportunity, many things for his job. So he just doesn't accept, blindly accept the rule because of they believe, so they refuse to go that. So in this part, they just internally what they believe. And in another hand, we can say if it's happened, it is maybe it's good because it's the morality, because dominate moral reason. But we should think the individual and people in the community just face with the self-destructive. It is the monarchy, So if we don't, it is another hand, we just look at this stage, is that when we just, everybody wants to do everything, so it's going to monarchy, and then it's not good for the society. But they have, when they ask for them, they have a justification, the people, everybody has their own, idea. For instance, I just beat someone somebody just hit my car, instead of just call the police because of the rule of society, just I hit him or beat him fighting. So it's gonna be just monarchy. Overall is talking about this one.
I thought that this part was really interesting because not everyone reaches that final level.
Exactly.
And not everyone does the right thing, even though they know it's the right thing. Like hit and run drivers, it happens all the time. You back into someone's car and you're like, well, I don't want to get insurance involved, and you drive away. And that shows like you have not reached that stage of knowing what I did was wrong. I know that I need to, own up to my mistake, and they're not always considering the other person too.
Just
I'm sorry, Haley, that a few people reach to this stage, not social contract, actually for the universal ethics, because that stage is like a sacrifice themselves. That is not that one. It's a sacrifice themselves. Exactly, we can say that, for instance, Muhammad Ali sacrificed themselves because they don't want to go to the war. So he received I can't say punishment, penalty, because he lost the opportunity to have a good for the sport. He jailed, or for instance, the Rosa Parks, he received, but sacrificing himself. That one is this, the people cannot reach for that. They sacrifice themselves because of the society, because of the benefit of someone. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Dion, you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Share a personal experience, because like last summer, I got into a car accident. I got rear-ended from behind, and like it was an older gentleman, so I felt really bad. But like he ended up suing me for their accident, and like I never got anything back from it, and I still have the damage on my car.
Really? Wow.
He hit you and he sued you?
Yeah, he filed for injury, and I
And
couldn't.
that was bad because.
But he was fine though.
Yeah, and the hit is in the back of your car. So.
Yeah, he hit my passenger side on the right, and then he sued me after.
Oh,
I felt so bad because at the time, like he was an older man, so like
so
he couldn't speak English. I just called the police, but like, and they didn't do anything about it. And so I called my insurance, but like they didn't really do anything. So like I just let it go because I felt bad.
Back.
All right. Well, I don't know how much time we have left, but I'll just start on my question. And that is, what does the textbook say about proper nutrition for children, and why are so many children in the US obese? What are some extremes that young people go into to attempt to control their weight? So the textbook states that the caloric needs of a preschool child ranges from about 1,500 to 1,700 calories daily, and then it's about 2,400 for 7 to 10-year-olds. Was that the timer? No.
Yeah, but you finish up your thought.
Okay. Basically, each kid should get these calories from all of the 5 food groups in a healthy combination. So that's grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, and beans. I know that from the physiology course I'm taking, carbohydrates are a great source of energy for the brain. So kids really need that for school. And then a major reason school-age children are obese is because they don't get enough exercise. The CDC recommends about 60 minutes a day for 6 through 17-year-olds, and then 3 to 5-year-olds should be active throughout their day. And the two, there are unhealthy and healthy ways to control weight. Walking or biking to school can be a great way to get healthy weight loss in a child, but unfortunately, a lot of children choose an unhealthy way to lose weight, which would be anorexia or bulimia. And anorexia is starving oneself, and bulimia is purging and eating a lot of food and then throwing it up. And that's all we have time for.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.